All right, good day. Today's transmission is called The Real Definition of Karma. What is karma? For a long time, people on your planet have misunderstood the actual meaning of that word. It is an ancient Sanskrit word, but most people on your planet have come to think of it as some sort of retribution or punishment or comeuppance or just desserts, so to speak. Someone might do something to you that you feel hurt you, and then maybe later something happens to them that they don't find pleasant, and many people on your planet go, karma, they got what they deserved. That is not the meaning of karma at all in its original form. The Sanskrit word karma simply means action. That's literally what the word means, action. And as we have said many times, actions are the language of physical reality. So this is understood in ancient times as the idea of the actions you take to rebalance yourself if you find that you have taken some action that brings you out of balance. So it's not an issue of punishment. It's not an issue of retribution or comeuppance or deservability in that sense. Yes, your actions have consequences. Of course they do. What you put out is what you get back. That's the law. But the idea is that karma is really just a guiding mechanism, a mechanism to allow you to be more aware of when you are out of alignment with your true vibration, so that you can take whatever actions are required, whatever karma is necessary for you to bring yourself back into alignment with your core true frequency, your core vibration. So it's important now, in this day and age of clarification, of definitions, to let go of the idea that karma has anything at all to do with retribution or punishment, and allow yourself to begin to take and use it in a more conscious and responsible way, to constantly guide yourself in the recognition and the discernment that you may have created a situation or a circumstance within yourself by some actions that may have moved you out of alignment with your integrity, with who you really prefer to be, and use that awareness to take the actions necessary to bring yourself back into alignment. That is why we have often said that as soon as you recognize you're out of alignment and choose to bring yourself back into alignment, choose to explore yourself and let go of those things that have brought you out of alignment and allow yourself to go back into alignment, you have erased your karma. Again, not meaning the idea of punishment, but the idea of the willingness to take the actions necessary to right yourself, to guide yourself, to course correct yourself through life and bring yourself back into alignment. Now, this is why what we have just described is the answer to when people ask, well, this person, no names shall be given, does things that are very much out of alignment, very negative, and yet they never seem to really reap any consequence of this. They don't seem to be subject to the so-called law of karma. That's, again, because karma is not a punishment. The idea may sometimes be that a person's belief systems that are negatively oriented may allow them to experience some negative things in turn, but that's because they're holding on to the negative beliefs that caused them to go out of alignment to begin with, and are still holding on to them, which can attract more negativity as a downward spiral into their lives. However, there are people on your planet, you generally label them as either sociopathic or psychopathic, that simply do not have the awareness within themselves because they've never been taught to, or simply have some particular physical reason for disconnecting from that aspect of their consciousness. so that they do not have the correcting mechanism. They do not know how to take the actions that would bring them back into alignment, because the belief system that they have developed within themselves allows them to believe they are not doing anything that is out of alignment, and therefore they see no reason to activate the karmic actions that would bring them back into alignment, because they don't believe they're out of alignment. So again, this is why some people may continue to do very negative things and never seem in any way, shape, or form to be held responsible for these things. Nothing bad ever seems to happen to them, as people on your planet say. This compartmentalization of beliefs and the belief that you're not doing anything negative because of the lack of connection to the karmic actions necessary to bring you back into alignment is the reason why this can occur. So it's all about allowing people to start understanding, reconnecting, and letting go of the idea that karma has anything at all to do with blame or punishment, and it's simply a device that allows you to take the actions necessary to be who you truly are, to recognize your core vibration, and to bring yourself back into alignment with it. This allows you to begin to really take full responsibility for the things that you create and perceive in your physical reality experience. And as we have said, responsibility is nothing more than the ability to respond. So karma, being defined as action, is the heightened ability to respond to misalignment by taking the actions necessary to bring yourself back into alignment. That's all karma is, but it is a very powerful tool if used in that way, in its original intention. So allow yourselves to practice letting go of any definition of karma that has anything at all to do with the idea of comeuppance or retribution or revenge, and allow yourself to bring it closer to home as a device that is actively participating in the creation of your life and your reality experience, and can be used every day in the most positive ways to make sure that you are course correcting and allowing yourself to move forward in the most aligned way to your true core being. Now, we thank you for allowing us to provide you with a more modern and updated, and yet at the same time ancient definition, the original definition of karma. And in return for the gift you are giving us in interacting with all of you, I ask you now, in what ways may we be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and dialogues if you wish.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm very happy to have you in my life. Thank you so much for that.
And we are ecstatic to have all of you in ours.
I would like to share an experience first and then ask my questions.
Yes, yes.
So recently I joined an ayahuasca ceremony, and one of the questions I had when going in was about Sekhmet. And she is an Egyptian goddess. She was also called Vereteka, or Great of Magic.
Yes.
And in the experience, it was very beautiful. I spent a lot of hours in being God, and I felt that everything is in God. And since there are no boundaries between the one and the other, there's really no experience of space or time.
Well, there's no experience at all of the one. The experience happens when it is all that is, the portion of the one that actually does know itself as all that is. But in the one itself, there's no experience of anything.
Yes, and then so you've explained that when God expresses himself, like when the one becomes multiple, it's immediately from 1 to 3. Because when God becomes manifest, there's also the transition period, or the boundary line between the two.
Yes.
So my impression was that Sekhmet is actually in this space, that she is able to balance these multiple dimensions, reaching into both of them at the same time. And that brings me to my first question. How would you describe Sekhmet? What does she represent, and in what dimension does she exist?
Sekhmet is an archetypal energy, a level of consciousness within all that is representative of certain concepts on your planet, certain concepts within the collective consciousness of your planet, but expressed through a particular culture called Egyptian awareness. Sekhmet is the idea to some degree of what you typically refer to as magic, or what Sekhmet would particularly perceive as shapeshifting from one reality to another, as many of the Egyptian archetypal symbolic gods were representative of. And thus Sekhmet allows for a fluidity of change, a magical kind of representation that can also extend into different disciplines, depending upon how the energy of Sekhmet, if one is used to that idea, if one is familiar with that idea, if one wishes to harmonize with that idea, can apply in their lives in different disciplines. Is this answering your question, or is there something more specific you wanted to discuss about this?
Well, I do have more questions, but that's a very nice start. It's a very good explanation. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I've heard you talk about cats, and sometimes you use the phrase the animals that you refer to as cats on your planet. And it made me wonder whether cats or felines or lions exist in on other planets as well.
Well, certainly in parallel realities that are versions of Earth, they do. But of course, on other planets, there may be certain animals that are similar, but not necessarily identical, because they will adapt to whatever form is representative of what's required for the consciousness of that world. So there may be some similarities in different worlds that you may say, well, that's very cat-like, but they won't necessarily exactly be cats.
Is there a connection between cats and Sirius?
Peripherally, but not directly.
You've also explained about shamans and that they are practiced at changing their frequency to match the frequency of other realities and dimensions.
Some of them
And
are, yes.
so how I've understood that we change our frequencies actually by changing our belief system. So by getting rid of fear-based or irrelevant beliefs, we change
Yes.
our frequency. So
Yes.
how would it work if we want to match our frequency to a specific dimension or location? How do we go about?
Well, this is what your imagination is for. If you can build some kind of a image or feeling about what the idea of another reality represents, and see a version of yourself in that, or something that is representative of what you desire to change into, then all you really have to do is start mirroring what that version of you is doing enough, strongly enough, consistently enough, that you start taking on the qualities of that version of you. And then either quickly or slowly over time, you can start actually exhibiting the qualities of that being and therefore shift yourself to that reality.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And then, so another thing you've told us about is the Sphinx, that it actually used to have the form of Anubis.
A long time ago, yes.
A long time ago. And that below the Sphinx, there's a chamber, and that some of the secrets that have been lost in Atlantis are stored there.
Yes.
So if we would want to access that space or the information that is there, what would that require?
Well, first of all, there are many people in that area who know exactly where that chamber is. They're just not really talking about it. People have asked permission to drill down, to drill a hole under the right paw of the Sphinx, to send a camera through that hole to see what's there, but they have not been allowed to do so at this particular point. So we will leave it up to all of you to figure out how to create a relationship with the people in that area that would be willing to allow that chamber to be explored.
Would there be a possibility of accessing that space by changing our frequency?
Well, of course, you have to change your frequency to experience a difference in reality.
But then, does it require us going there physically?
You don't have to go there physically to be able to know what's there. You can tap into it in a variety of ways. But the idea is that it is important for the revelation of that and exposure of that chamber at a certain timing as well.
Thank you so much, Bashar.
You are welcome. Good day.
Hi, Bashar. I'm Erin from Shepherdstown, West Virginia. I have a question about Willahilla christening the hybrid 700 years in our future. I've encountered a few people who feel some fear about her talking about us being cookies and being eaten eventually when we're fully baked. I was wondering if you could provide some clarity on that statement and maybe help people let go of some fears about that.
As we have discussed, there is an evolution progressing on your planet so that it becomes the sixth hybrid race. In that sense, you are being baked as a species. You are turning into something delicious, not in the literal sense of being eaten, but in the sense of being enjoyed as a beautiful confection, as something you're all familiar with that feels warm and inviting, transforming into something that is considered a lovely dessert. Again, not to be taken literally. So the idea is a euphemism and a euphemistic way of expressing that you're all baking into something beautiful and wonderful.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
All right.
All right. So my question is, when it comes to things such as parallel timelines,
Yes.
parallel Earths and such, and so there's this version of me experiencing this reality, and there's other versions of me experiencing other realities.
Yes, although they're not literally you.
Could you explain that further?
Well, every version is its own person. They may look like you, and that's why you're saying versions of me, but they're not literally you. They're not this version. They are another person.
Okay, so when are the alternate timelines is there always a split, or is there like when I make a decision, there's a split and a split?
The splits don't happen when you make the decisions. The splits are already there. It's just that you shift when you make a decision into that split. And you're doing this constantly, billions of times a second. Remember, what you're calling a single timeline is actually made up of billions of different timelines.
Right, I see. So why do I end up as me experiencing this version of me and the other ones that made the other decisions?
Because the higher version, let's just generally call it the oversoul, that contains all the extensions of all the different versions of you, experiences all those different versions. You happen to be this version that the oversoul decided it would choose to experience, along with all the other versions. You happen to be this version.
I see. And is there any way to say telepathically communicate with other versions of myself?
Yes. And again, you're doing that all the time. You may not recognize it, but you're doing it all the time. A lot of times, some of the experiences and knowledge of other versions in other realities is leaking through and might be giving you different kinds of imagination thoughts and things like that that you think, so to speak, are your own.
I see.
There's constant cross communication going on.
Right. Oh, constant. And how does this transmission is about karma. How does karma factor into that?
Again, only as we've described it. Each and every version gets to decide for itself in its own representation when it is in alignment with whether its true core frequency is, when it is out of alignment, and what actions can be taken to bring itself back into alignment according to the process that this version represents in discovering who and what you really truly are.
Okay, right. That all makes sense. Now, if I may talk about UFOs just for a minute, and the versions that we have here on Earth that were reverse engineered. I'm just wondering if, where are they up to, right? And how long before they become public, if they become public at all?
Some of it may become public within the next couple of decades, maybe 3 decades at the most. But again, bits and pieces of that information do already exist, of course. This is why you're asking the question. But they're not as far along as you might think. They have reverse engineered certain things that do exhibit what you typically refer to as anti-gravity, but they're still experimenting with a lot of it. And not to put too fine a point on it, but a lot of the ships that they've reverse engineered, well, let's just say, without being judgmental, that they're of a more simple design.
Right, I see. And in a previous transmission, a person did ask if the ones being reverse engineered are interdimensional. And I believe you said the people reverse engineering it came into unexpected consequences. I was
Correct.
wondering if you could go into that more deeply. For example,
No,
what
not really.
unexpected?
Not really. Some of the unexpected consequences are that people got shifted into other dimensions and never came back. Other consequences are they may have shifted through other dimensions to other locations on your planet. Some of them may have been molecularly affected by this. Molecules could have been displaced, gone out of alignment. There can be electromagnetic effects that can be detrimental if it's not done correctly. These are some of the things they have experienced, but we won't go more deeply into it than that.
Okay, that's sort of what I expected the answer to be. Also, next year is 2023.
Yes.
Which I'm looking very forward to, because as you've said many times, that will be the beginning of the window of open contact.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking is, or what I'm wondering is, when they first make contact, there'll be, I guess, news articles?
Not right away. Not right away. Again, as we have said, just because it's the beginning of the window doesn't mean everything happens all at once. We're just talking about a shift in energy, a shift in vibration in a certain way that allows for the probability of more contact, which will begin in more isolated places on an individual basis, and even just with the idea perhaps of more sightings, more visibly to more people.
Right. So it will slowly start to become commonplace that UFO sightings just an ordinary thing.
Yes, eventually be just like, oh, look, there goes another one.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic news to me, because over the years, for example, in the 1980s, it was often considered crackpots and so on that saw UFOs. So I'm glad that it's becoming more and more common.
All right. Well, that's based on the decisions of those who are shifting to realities where it's already more common.
Oh, that's excellent. I would like to talk about, what we call artificial intelligence, even though it's probably more accurately digital intelligence.
The devices may, in a sense, be artificial, but the intelligence is real.
Right. I see. Could you give us a timeline of when the next big leap in artificial intelligence is or will be, and when it will very definitely pass the Turing test?
10 to 15 years maximum.
10 to 15 years maximum.
Yes. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. What
Yes.
would be like the nearest? So 10 years that the nearest.
It's not impossible that this could be experienced in 5 years. It's just that we see the probability being higher between 10 and 15.
Right. I understand.
As we read your energy now.
Oh, as we read the energy now. So that could increase depending on decisions in society.
Absolutely. These things are always in flux. And as we have said, there's no such thing as a prediction of the future. There is only a sensing of the energy and the most likely probability of manifestation at the moment the reading is taken.
Right. I understand. Okay. Okay. That's all I have for you today. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Good day.
Good day.
Hello, Bashar. Hello again. So my question today is about the formula, as you may have guessed. We are taught to follow our heart's excitement. But the question has come up when I'm trying to spread this knowledge to others. What if the excitement isn't necessarily positive. So, for example, a violent person may find excitement in harming others. A racist might find excitement in harming someone of this particular race for no other reason than that they exist. A bigot, et cetera, et cetera. Or somebody that wants to sleep with a best friend's partner or like a relative's partner. They may feel very excited about this, but I assume that this is obviously different from what you're teaching with the heart's excitement. So how do we differentiate between what is the excitement we should follow? I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
You are using the term excitement in a very loose way, because the idea of someone doing harm to another is not actually following their excitement, even though they may call it such. You have to have the ability to discern the difference between excitement and anxiety. And just because someone is going through anxiety and acting out on anxiety and calling it excitement doesn't make it so. Excitement, by definition, is a positive path. That's how we're defining it. Excitement, passion, so on and so forth. The idea is to simply understand that if they are doing the definition of mechanical negativity, segregation, separation, diminishment, control, then these are not synonyms for excitement, because excitement has a positive definition. They are equal to anxiety and fear, and you have to recognize the difference whether they do or not.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
Wow, it's so joyful to feel your energy.
And yours as well.
I was in a very joyful state in the end of 2020, and I almost popped out of the physical dream, and yes. I felt that I cleared all my karma, but by
remember what we said about karma.
Oh.
Karma is not the idea of building up negative energy. The idea is to simply take actions that course correct you back into alignment with your true self.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
And then, however, I made some decisions that maybe I met with somebody whose vibration maybe is incompatible with me. We met each other physically, very close to each other, and I felt that my energy almost broken up into pieces. Yes. And I had a really challenging year in 2021. But
congratulations.
Thank you. And by your help and by many beings' help, yes. Because I was in a multi-dimensional state, beyond the time and space state.
All right. Well, you always have help. You always have help.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And every time I see your title of your new transmission, I started healing myself automatically, and I feel much better now.
All right.
And but I found that till now I still have some challenging meditating, and when I wake up at night in the dream state, there are so many dreams, maybe bad dreams, and some emotions still coming up.
Yes. So, well, you may be working things out in the dream state.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather work them out physically?
I don't know. I'm just wondering if I can do something, if I really need to do something now to rebalance the energy faster, or is there anything I can do to help to rebalance the energy now?
Are you familiar with what we have shared with all of you called the formula, and are you following it as precisely as you possibly can?
Oh yes, of course I'm familiar with the formula, but maybe not precisely, that much precisely.
Why not? Is there something you're afraid of discovering within yourself?
I'm I'm just wondering how to express myself, how to express my love and my emotion more accurately.
Well,
when
are
I'm
you acting
communicating
on your
with people.
passion in life? Are you acting on your passion in life?
Yes, as much as I can now.
Well, what makes you think you're falling short of expressing yourself? How would you like to express yourself that you're not doing? Can you describe the difference? Can you give us an example of what it would be like to express yourself more fully as opposed to what you're now doing?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I communicate with people, maybe I can communicate with them in a more friendly way. But sometimes I get into my fear state.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. You have fears that you haven't let go of because you haven't discovered the beliefs behind why you're holding on to them. So you need to do more self-investigation to find out why you're choosing to hold on to those beliefs, why you think you need to do that instead of letting them go. That's the process that will help you let go of them and not be afraid to find them so you can let go of them. And then there will be no negative belief systems in you for you to have a fear reaction in your communications with others. You understand?
Oh, yes.
Well, then that's using the formula more precisely if you do that. And it will help you let go of those negative and fear-based beliefs. But first you have to discover why you're holding on to them. Remember, you don't hold on to anything that you don't believe serves you. So if you have a negative belief within you that is making you believe that holding on to that negative belief is actually a better alternative than letting it go, you will always hold on to it until you understand that there is nothing to be afraid of in the better alternative. So dig down and investigate those beliefs. Listen precisely to what they are telling you. Listen to the story that the belief is telling you and realize it's nothing but a story, that you get to decide what works for you, and you don't have to buy into what the negative and fear-based belief is telling you you should be believing in. So do that work and it will help you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
And there is an example. For example, if someone keep telling me you can never win, and maybe I'm absorbing your energy, how do I respond to that person?
How do you believe that? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe what they're saying?
It's totally nonsense.
Well, then act like it's nonsense.
Yeah, but I just felt a little bit sad that he would say that.
Why are you sad? Then that means you're buying into the energy. If a stranger, if a total stranger walked up to you on the street and said those things, would you pay them any attention? No, because they don't know who you are. Just because you know someone doesn't mean you can't react to them or respond to them as if they were a stranger when they say something you know has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own fears. They're just projecting it on you because they're afraid to look within themselves and let those things go. So if you know that and can view them that way, you won't react to what they're saying in any sad or negative way, because you will know that they're just working on their own issues, even though they may be projecting them on you. And therefore you can simply feel compassion for them and understanding for them and not sadness for them. See them as powerful beings and allow them to work through their own issues. Don't see them as something sad, or you're depriving them of being reinforced in the positive direction. All you're doing is reinforcing the negativity that they're already experiencing within themselves that they're afraid to look at, and that's why they project those things on you. Make sense?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
All right.
And one last question. I'm wondering, how do you use your body as a light bulb spaceship to shifting between dimensions?
It's a matter of changing the frequency to match the frequency of a different dimension, which our ships can sense.
Oh.
Remember, our ships are intelligent. They are solidified projections and light projections of our own higher minds. So they're connected to multiple dimensions already, and can tell the difference vibrationally in frequency between one and another.
Oh, okay. So the body is really not. It does not belong to a certain dimension. The body will have a different frequency in different places.
Yes, exactly so. And a different way of seeing and perceiving it. Yes.
Okay. So I'm just learning more about the body, the essence of my body.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Have fun. Thank you. Good day.
Good day. Thank you very much.
Hello, Bashar. Question about dreams. So a little while ago, I heard you explain to someone how dreams about being in airplanes and other kinds of vehicles can be screen memories for actual contact experiences. So 2 days after I heard you say that, my husband, who had not heard any of it, comes to me and says, I had the weirdest dream. And this is already weird because he doesn't usually remember his dreams. So he said in his dream, they were on a plane and it was going straight up. And then they were in a big hangar and that there was a large general there who was looking for me. And then they found me and we all got into an Explorer and we were driving around. The synchronicity of that was really fantastic. And my question is, who was this general? And why were they asking him where I was? I mean, I'm guessing that they would know how to find me if they needed me, right? Thank you.
This is a representation of a classic so-called abduction experience going from a smaller craft into a larger craft, a mothership, so to speak. The general is a projected telepathic representation of someone in authority in a way that your husband could understand, could relate to. And they were trying to see how much ability he had to sense his connection between him and you. They knew where you were. They wanted to see if he knew where you were. It was a test of growing telepathic communication through the connection of relationship and love.
Good day, Bashar. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm very excited.
All right. Thank you.
I have a number of questions.
Yeah.
My wife passed away last month.
All right.
I've been trying to come to terms with this reality.
All right.
Is it possible or am I allowed to know if did she complete her life team before leaving?
Yes.
Okay.
And now it continues in the afterlife by allowing you to reach out to make more connections with her in spirit. That's part of the theme as well.
I see. Because I still feel a sense of guilt in me.
Why?
I'm not sure if I've done anything, I've not done enough, or have I done anything wrong?
No, you've done fine. No, you've done fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. This is all prearranged. It's all pre-planned. It's by agreement. The timing is correct for this. Don't spend time there. Otherwise, you are preventing yourself from experiencing the connections that she can be making to you.
I see.
So let go of all that. Breathe a sigh of relief. Let go. And just open up in love, in your heart, to receive whatever it is that she will send to you. And eventually you'll begin to feel it more and more strongly. And you will realize that guilt has nothing to do with this agreement and this experience.
I see.
All right?
Because every time I think of her, I start to cry. Because
you're in grief. I know. You're letting go. You're letting go, and you're rearranging your understanding of your relationship, and that's fine. But remember that if you consider this to be a loss and keep defining it as a loss, then anytime she may attempt to communicate with you or contact you, you will only experience that connection as grief. So the more you let go of that idea over whatever time it takes, the more you'll be able to realize that she is actually communicating with you a lot more often than you might think.
Okay. A few days ago, I was talking to my son,
Yes.
encouraging him to connect with my wife, with his mom, and
Yes.
suddenly he actually saw the spirit of my wife floating on air. I'm just curious, why did my son is able to do this?
How old is he?
10 years old.
That's why. Because he hasn't learned not to do that. He is more open to the idea of spirit, more open to the idea of what is possible, whereas most adults on your planet have been taught to think that those things are not possible. But he hasn't done that. So he is more capable of perceiving beings in spirit because he hasn't blocked his ability to do that with all of the different things on your planet and your society that you tell them are simply not possible to do.
Okay.
Children are very open this way.
Is there any ways that I encourage him to have such connection?
He has the connection. The most important thing is for him to teach you how to have the connection. Not to encourage him, but for him to encourage you by knowing that he has just shown you it's possible.
Okay, understand. Okay. Another thing is, now as a single parent, what can I do to best educate my children such that they'll grow up in a balance, as a balanced adult?
Well, as we have said before, you teach them the formula. You teach them that they are as powerful as they need to be to attract whatever they need in life without having to hurt themselves or anyone else in order to attract it. Tell them to trust in the way their life unfolds and in synchronicity to bring them what they need in perfect timing, not to rush or be desperate, but to live in the moment. You can help them learn in certain circumstances how to make positive choices, how to understand the consequences of their choices, and get them to understand how to move forward in balance in that way. So you can teach them all these things, but they can also teach you some of these things as well if you pay attention.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much, Bashar.
You are very
So
welcome.
grateful.
Our unconditional love to you and hers to you as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, Bashar. I was also wondering about the animal that Willa suggested that we connect to connect to her, which is the fox. And that is a little bit, well, that is a predator in our time. Now, in her time, is it also a predator? I know you said as we evolve that we wouldn't have as much predation probably. So I was just wondering how much predation is in her time. Thank you very much.
Almost none. There is more of a symbiosis that is taking place in nature, and there is a certain period of time in her history where that actually happened in a certain time period more rapidly. Certain shifts were observed, and suddenly many animals that were predatory either shifted their behavior in certain ways, grew in certain ways, or shifted or changed in certain ways physiologically to allow them to become more symbiotic, or simply died out and are no longer existing. So the fox in her time is not the fox of your time. It is a very different kind of an animal, even though it has some similar looks to it.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
So excited to be here with you. Recently, I've been playing with the idea of channeling. Usually, I just do it with my children. It's very comfortable to do it with them. And
all right. So when you say you're exploring that idea, do you mean doing it for people beyond your children? Is that what you're saying?
I've done it where I've recorded myself, but I often have challenges in the recording.
Challenges of what nature?
Like the sound, my voice doesn't get picked up by the microphone. So
that can happen. Your energy is fluctuating. Your electromagnetic auric field can affect electronic equipment sometimes when you are expanding it in certain ways and when it contains frequencies that are different than the normal frequencies of your planet. It can interfere with electronic equipment. This has happened with us many times in some public events where the cameras simply refuse to work.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the beings that I'm connecting to.
Not going to go deeply into that.
Okay.
First and foremost, you will connect to your own higher mind, maybe some of your spirit guides. Get to know them, get to know yourself, get familiar with the process. But as we have often suggested, one of the best ways to do this is to actually channel for other people who are asking questions, who really want to know the answers, because then you can get out of the way and let them pull the information through you, like grounding it like a circuit, instead of sitting there wondering if what you're getting is accurate or even worthwhile. Let someone pull the information through you if you really want to practice vocal channeling.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been that have been holding me from doing that sometimes is I feel how can I stay grounded so that the information that comes through is clear. Sometimes I
don't worry about it. That's how. Whatever happens is what needs to happen. Remember, you're practicing. You have to go with the idea that, hey, I may not get anything. Hey, I may get something that's misinterpreted. Hey, I'm just learning this. So let's go with the flow. This is just for the point of practicing. You'll figure it out. You'll get a better sense of when it comes through in the way that it needs to. But at first, you have to let go of all of that. You have to let go of needing to be correct, needing to be accurate, needing to get anything at all. You have to let go of the idea that you might look silly or strange or sound silly or strange. You might have to let go of the idea of what other people might think. Remember, channeling is not just for bringing through information for others. It's a process that also is there for the channel to learn who they are rather than learning who the entity is, to become more of yourself, letting go of those things that don't work for you, refining the process as you go along. It's for the channel as well as those receiving the information. So as long as you make an announcement at first to the people asking questions that you're just new at this, you're practicing this, you don't know what's going to happen, but you're going to trust whatever comes through is what needs to come through, and you're going to trust that even something not coming through is what needs to happen at that particular moment until you can get more familiar with what's going on and be more comfortable with it. Then things will change and shift. And you might even find yourself doing channeling in a different form altogether, but that's up to you. Does this help?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to ask one more thing. The world sometimes feels very intense, and I understand the idea of looking at things through a glass window or glass wall.
Yes.
But sometimes I still find that, particularly with what's happening in Ukraine,
Yes, yes.
I get a sense of helplessness.
Then do what you can. Act according to how you are able to in some positive fashion. There are many ways to support what is going on. We can't talk about this too deeply because we are not allowed to get involved in your politics. Nevertheless, look around. There are options available to you to do whatever you can to be of assistance in the situation. So let go of your fears and take whatever actions are positive in whatever direction synchronicity brings to you that you are actually able to take some action on. There are many organizations who are being of assistance. You can participate in whatever way works for you.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Good day.
Good day, Bashar.
Hi, Bashar.
To you, good day.
How are you doing?
Perfect. And you?
I'm doing perfect also.
All right. You are always perfect for whatever you are. At any given moment, you're a perfect version of that, even though you may change.
Exactly. The evil eye symbol is more or less the same symbol as like Sirius. Like how do they relate to one another?
They don't.
They don't.
No, the idea is simply the concept of being watched, because as you observe, others observe you. That's the way they do relate. But they don't relate in the sense of the definitions that your society has given to that symbol. in that way. It's only a representation of the fact that you can see the symbol either as positive or negative, depending upon what belief systems you hold to be true within yourself. That's how it relates. But that meaning isn't inherently built into that symbol. It's there as an observation thing to observe how you respond and react to it. Yes?
Yes. So
Alright.
they're not related in the way that someone that was very connected to Sirius created the symbol of the evil eye.
Correct.
All right.
It's just a symbol of connection and observation. But whether it appears to be benign or evil has to do more with the belief systems that that person may have been taught. Does that help?
Doesn't make much sense. Could you?
All right. You are given the symbol, let's just say, that seems to be like an eye to you. And if we're telling you that that eye is observing you, watching you, seeing what's going on, but also the vibration of that eye may be causing certain beliefs within each person to rise to the surface of their consciousness and be expressed, well, those that might hold on to some fear-based beliefs or negative beliefs in their unconscious mind may interpret the symbol negatively and say it's an evil eye that could control me or do damage to me, while others who may be more inclined to look at things more positively will simply see it as a connection to those who are looking over you, watching over you, observing you for more neutral or positive reasons. So the vibration of that symbol as an eye, interpreted as an eye, can be taken either positively or negatively based on what belief systems are within the person doing the observing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Will that do?
Thank you for this, and it was very nice to speak with you again.
And you as well. Good day.
Good day.
Hi.
Good day.
Good day. I have a question.
Yes.
It was 2 nights ago, I think. It was an odd experience because I heard an alarm and I just woke up in the middle of the night and I heard an alarm.
Yes. Was it between 3 and 4 a.m. or a different time?
Probably. I just maybe thought it was a different time.
Okay, well, it might have been.
Yeah.
What are you asking?
I'm asking, is it like an ET or something? Or was it just me waking up?
It might have been something from your guides to alert you, not necessarily negatively alarm you, but to alert you to something that was going on in your consciousness or in the encounter you might have been having when you were out of your body. So it might have been something for the purpose of bringing your attention to something. We can't necessarily say what at this particular point, but it seems to be something that would be getting your attention, to bring your attention to something important at that time, to pay attention to something. All right? It may happen again, and thus you may build more familiarity with what it is actually attempting to get your attention to pay attention to.
Yes.
So next time it happens, look around the room, see if you can sense or see something going on, or look outside your window, see if you can see or sense something going on that might be unusual. But it's attempting to get you to pay attention to something at a certain timing. All right?
Yes.
All right. Does that help?
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah.
All right. What?
just forgot.
All right. Well, pleasant dreams to you.
You too.
Always. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes, you remember?
yes. Is there anything that could help me have more connection with ETs?
Follow the formula that we share with everyone. Synchronicity will bring you exactly what you need in perfect timing. Just have the intention to be open to those connections. Synchronicity will bring them to you. And this may be connected to that, what we've already discussed to some degree.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
That is all.
All right. Good day.
Good day.
Hi, Bashar. Chris from California again. I'm wanting to understand more clearly this idea that the structure of existence never changes, only our perspective and experience of that structure changes. Can you walk us through that idea in a new or more detailed way so that we can get a fuller understanding of it? Thank you.
Yes, although this may require a visual representation if you have access to it. I'm going to describe an object. It is known by a few different names. One of the names is a blivet, B-L-I-V-E-T. This is an optical illusion object. It is defined generally as an elongated form that has what appear to be 3 round prongs on one end and simply 2 squarish ones on the other end. It is what you would call an impossible object to exist in 3 dimensions. It's a higher dimensional form. But you can have a drawing of it, and you can see the optical illusion in it because one end appears to be blockish and squarish and only has 2 extended prongs, but at the other end, the space in between the other 2 is drawn in such a manner that it seems to suddenly transform into one of the 3 round prongs at the other end. If you are familiar with this object, you can look it up if you're not, blivet. But the idea is that this form never changes. That's the structure of it. But if you cover the bottom half, you would think that it represents a blockish 2-pronged object. And if you cover the upper half, you would believe that it represents a 3-dimensional, 3-pronged object with round prongs. So therefore, even though the structure underneath what you have covered up hasn't changed, your perspective of the object has changed by blocking your view of the bottom or the top half, showing you that you can have an object that doesn't change within itself, but you can perceive it in different ways to represent what appear to be different objects. And that's the basic principle underlying the nature of existence. The structure of existence, represented by the laws, doesn't change, but your perspective of it changes. Your relationship to it changes. Your experience of it changes depending on your point of view of an object or a structure that never changes.
Good morning, Bashar. It's wonderful to be here with you this morning.
And you as well.
Have you seen Jill Gurr about the universe?
We know that she is in spirit, have connected briefly from time to time.
Thank you. I didn't really have a question to ask you. This is morning time for me. But what I did want to share is that I've had some really beautiful synchronicities around your energy. Many synchronicities, actually. The most recent was a being. I'm not sure if I think it's feminine. I think she is from your civilization. I'm just not sure, but I'm very interested in the disclosure that's been going on, and I'm very interested in contact. So I'm not surprised that I might pull that kind of energy towards me, but...
Yes. All right. Well, we can confirm that a female in our society is connecting with you.
Oh, thank you.
She has something to do with nature, with flowers, with the essence of the vibration felt when you are in deep communion with nature. And she is working with you because in terms of relative time, you are about to go towards something bigger than what you've been doing.
Yes. I am definitely in a time of transition. I feel like I am letting a chapter go, or
yes.
I'm just in mid-chapter. I'm
yes.
tidying it up, letting it go. I would be happy to have already completed it, but it's okay because I do realize there's a process to it. But I'm
yes.
almost finished,
yes.
and I'm clearing my plate.
And this is why we can sense that you're about to embark on something bigger. It will be coming in possibly within the next 3 to 6 months at the outside. Maybe sooner, but we'll see what your process brings you.
Yeah.
But within 3 to 6 months, look for something being presented to you synchronistically that would allow you to embark on something bigger.
How beautiful. I've been feeling that would be lovely to experience.
All right.
Because I have been working in it's a paradox. I've been working, it feels like in a more confined area physically.
Yes.
Yet.
You need to expand.
Yes. And internally, there's been expansion, and creatively.
But the outside will reflect the inside soon enough.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, not really. Just to really share with you my absolute appreciation for everything that you are.
A deep appreciation for you as well. Our unconditional love to you. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
So how are you today?
Perfect. And you?
Very well, thank you.
All right.
So we have lots of questions from our viewers today.
All right. Please proceed.
Okay. Are people incarnated on Earth voluntarily or by karma?
Voluntarily.
Okay. And Buddhists say that chanting sutras and mantras can eliminate negative karma in the past and present lives. Is this true, and why?
All right. First of all, before we answer that question, we can perceive that many questions having to do with this subject of karma may have been formulated by people before they were able to hear the monologue that we have delivered. Therefore, many of these questions about karma may still be coming from an old-fashioned definition of what karma is. So we will proceed with any such questions in a manner that will relate them to what we have said in the monologue about the actual definition of karma, and show how all of these questions coming from different viewpoints with respect to the idea of the old-fashioned definition can be turned around into a new understanding, a more modern understanding, a more streamlined understanding, thus rendering many of these questions, in some sense, obsolete. Nevertheless, it will be a good exercise to, as you say, drive home the actual definition with respect to many of these questions that may be coming forward from an out-of-date perspective. The idea, again, of karma is that it does not accumulate. It does not come from other lives. Now, yes, there is such a thing as consequence of choice. Yes, what you put out is what you get back. But as we have said, karma, in its original intended form, simply means action. And therefore, as everything exists simultaneously, it is possible for someone to decide to connect to another simultaneous existence that you would call a past life, even though it exists at the same time as the present one. And they may decide to choose to make a connection to certain experiences in those other people's lives and make them relevant for the theme that a person may be exploring in this life. And in that context, you can say, well, the idea of what choices were made and what was accumulated in terms of consequence to those choices may come from another life, but it isn't the idea of something that happens automatically. It is something that is chosen for the theme of this particular life, connecting energetically to the themes of another simultaneous life. It isn't an automatic thing that accumulates and goes from one lifetime to another, since that other person in that other life isn't you. Now, we can talk about the idea that from the oversoul level, the oversoul can say, well, that is my life, and that is my life, and that is my life. And from that level, there is a kind of a continuity. But we will talk about the oversoul in another transmission. The idea, in terms of answering the question right now at hand, is that no, it doesn't automatically come from another life. And therefore, it is something that, again, to remind you all, is simply a choice that is made to recognize that someone may be out of balance in this life. And karma is the ability to take the actions necessary to bring one back into balance, no matter what themes you may be connecting to from other simultaneous lives going on. It's not something that actually follows you in that sense or accumulates upon you from one life to the next, because you only exist in the now.
Okay, thank you. Did Yeshua ever speak to the idea of karma?
Yes. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Again, the choice being made to stay in an aligned, balanced state, in alignment with all that is. And should you find yourself getting out of alignment with that, again, remembering that to be of service and to treat others as you would be treated is the actions to be taking with regard to balancing oneself, bringing oneself back into alignment, and thus utilizing the originally intended meaning of karma.
Okay, and if you help kill chickens and ducks by helping your family catch them and kill them, will you also have karma? This person is saying that they had to do that when they were a child and it was a very bad experience for them, and now they're afraid they have negative karma from the death of those animals.
Again, if it is something you can choose now to understand was representative of being out of alignment, even if you were made to do it by your family at that time, it is more the idea of the consequential energy of their choices that they will experience rather than you experiencing it because it was done against your will. So the idea is to simply recognize that it is something you no longer prefer to do and take the actions necessary in your life so that they do not happen that way again. And that will be balancing the idea of the energy and using karma in its more modern format of taking the actions to bring yourself into balance. Do not worry. Do not judge yourself in that sense. You will find that by simply moving forward in your life at this time in the way that you would prefer to, everything will be brought back into balance.
And if a person sacrifices 100,000 people to save 1 billion people, will this person have positive or negative karma?
Again, the idea is to ask oneself why it was necessary to sacrifice those people in the first place. Were you out of balance in bringing yourself into a situation like that, in attracting such a circumstance? And if you were out of balance in doing that, then take the actions necessary to cease doing things like that that bring you into those kinds of circumstances and situations, so you will not have to make decisions like that in the future. thus then again taking the actions that bring you back into balance and utilizing the concept of karma in its more modern terminology and its more modern definition.
So in that sense, there's not any real answer. Like, I mean, if we saw something happening that would involve stopping the person that's doing the negative act.
Again, you must remember that there are no accidents, and therefore attracting something into your life that would cause you to have a different choice, that would give you the opportunity to make different choices. In other words, give them the opportunity to stop doing negative things and choose more positive ones. Then you have to take into account also the idea that that person is in your life not by accident, and therefore is part of your ability to attract what you need to use karma to rebalance yourself.
Since time doesn't exist, how does karma work?
Well, as we have said, first of all, everything happens in the now. And the idea of utilizing the correct definition of karma is that you take actions in the now that are representative of rebalancing yourself if you feel you are out of balance. And it isn't that the idea of time or the experience of time doesn't exist. It may not really exist mechanically, fundamentally, but it does exist as a side effect, and it is something that you can and do experience. Therefore, still recognizing that everything does exist in the now, using karma in its originally intended definition means you take whatever actions in the present are necessary to bring yourself back into alignment if you feel that you have been out of alignment.
And having to do with karma and free will, can my soul agree to solve karma from another life of my soul in my life now without my consent?
You are your soul. You have to give yourself the consent to balance yourself by taking the actions necessary to do so in this life, in this experience.
So the idea that a negative, I think in the past you may have said that you have to, the soul oversoul balances these things out in terms of between lives even, like one parallel life will balance out what another one is doing. So does the person that's the personality experiencing one of those lives have a choice about it, or is that a decision that was made at another level of itself and it cannot really negate that?
It depends on how connected it is to the theme you are exploring. Because as we have said, the person you are is a theme, is a path. And if it is something you decided to create for yourself, then it cannot be avoided because you established the path as the theme you would explore. However, in general terms, no. Someone doesn't necessarily have to choose to balance the self in any particular life. You can do it in any particular state of being that you happen to be in on the course of your evolution. So it's not absolutely mandatory unless you have made it mandatory for the theme that you chose to be in this life.
So it sounds like the better idea is not to look at things that are happening to you from the perspective of, oh, this is happening because I did this in a past life, or I agreed to do it and balance it out here or something. More the idea of just staying in the present and recognizing the connections you're making to other parallel lives are your choice.
Yes.
Based on what you're attracting and the theme you're playing out.
Yes, and remember again, because the original definition of karma is action, which happens in the moment, then in a sense, karma is synonymous with free will. You are making the free will choice to take the actions necessary to maintain balance in your life. That's what karma is. It's not something that accumulates from other times, other places. It is not retribution. It is not something that builds up and then gets you back. It is simply in the moment, the clear, free choice, free will recognition that you may be out of balance with who you prefer to be, and using the concept of action and karma and free will to bring yourself into balance by making choices that are more representative of who you prefer to be. That's all there is to it. It is very important and very crucial, which is why we're having this discussion today. for your society to really start to let go of these outdated and old-fashioned definitions of karma. They only anchor you into patterns and habits that aren't actually real. You are creating from a linear perspective a circumstance that doesn't actually exist in truth. The idea, again, is to bring everything back into present, to take responsibility, the ability to respond for the choices you have made and the consequences therefrom, and then decide, again, with your free will, your freedom to choose, what actions to take, what karma to use to bring yourself into the balance you say you prefer to exhibit in your life. This requires you to truly let go of these old-fashioned definitions and really pay attention to the new definition we are offering you as a suggestion, so that you can be free to make the choices that are true for you and live in the present and take responsibility. And again, this doesn't mean it erases the idea that there are consequences for your choices. Of course there are. Again, what you put out is what you get back. But this doesn't have anything to do with what karma actually is. Karma, again, is simply the ability to take the actions necessary to bring yourself into balance if you believe you are out of balance. That's it. Free yourselves from the outdated definitions that anchor you to the concept of repeating patterns and the idea that you have to accumulate things and somehow discharge them in that way. The minute you choose to balance yourself, then you have used karma appropriately and nothing else accumulates until you're out of balance. And again, you can balance yourself in that moment, in the present. That's karma. And that's it.
And so the idea that if a person has been telling themselves a story about, oh, I did this in a past life or whatever, and a circumstance comes up that again triggers the idea of the story you were telling yourself before about why you have this certain emotional or physical reaction to something.
Yes, the closest analogy, as we said, is that someone may choose to connect to someone else's life that is experiencing certain things that they believe might be appropriate or germane for them to explore in the theme they chose for this life. But it's not something that you did that is coming from that life, in the sense that you are building up an accumulation of something that has to be discharged as a judgment against you. It's not coming from outside. The idea is that you may connect to that life having a certain experience because you believe that it will help you explore the theme that gives you the opportunity to continue to take the actions that bring yourself into balance relative to that theme you're connecting to. But you didn't do it because that's not your life. You're just using that life for your own purposes to help you balance in this one.
So time and time again, it brings you back to stay in the present, recognize all the connections that you're making, being made from the present.
Yes.
And that the minute you reinterpret what you were previously believing was something coming from a past life into a choice of whether or not you want to continue to connect with that particular experience, sort of like a library book where you can look at the book, but do you really want to check it out of the library and experience the consequence of that?
Yes. You can use it in the way it was intended for the connection that was made to learn a lesson, to help you explore a theme. But again, it's not karma in the sense that most people on your planet have been thinking of it for thousands of years. You're not anchored, except again in the anchorings you chose to have to explore a certain theme, but you created those. So if you created those connections for your own purpose of exploration, when you've learned the lesson, you have exhausted the theme and you have exhausted the reason to keep that connection going.
So this next person's question of, is karma stored in our DNA? Would it be closer to is our theme encoded in our DNA, and the effect of that maybe the stories that we tell ourselves?
Yes. And again, instead of saying, is karma encoded in the DNA, it would be clearer and more appropriate and accurate to say, is the theme I'm exploring encoded in the DNA? And can I use karma as a tool to take the actions to help me explore that theme? Yes. So what we're saying and what we're suggesting is start changing the definition of karma from something that is investing you in a certain idea or pattern, and start looking at it as a tool to help you explore the theme and keep you on track with that exploration. It's the theme that is represented in the DNA, not karma.
That's fascinating. So then the idea of something being unchangeable. Okay, my theme is encoded in my DNA. I'm experiencing opportunities to balance certain energies out by the things that I manifest.
Yes.
And so is there any aspect of it that is truly unchangeable, or even your theme is changeable?
The theme can be changeable, but again, it depends upon what you have chosen the theme to be. Some people, for different purposes, might choose to have an unchangeable theme for the entire lifetime. But that's not necessarily the case anymore now that you are exploring what consciousness is, and the idea of taking responsibility and living in the moment and having accurate definitions of all these concepts and letting go of the fear-based beliefs and outdated definitions. These, in and of themselves, in this day and age, may allow you more flexibility in changing your theme if you have exhausted the original one. You now have the opportunity in this lifetime to have more than one theme. So, allow yourself simply to stay in the present, move forward in acting on the idea of the formula that we have shared with all of you. If you are able to change your theme, if you come to that point, you will recognize it through synchronicity. You will feel the original theme leave you. You will feel some freedom within you and a sense of the ability to choose something different.
It seems like since we have greater communication now with our higher minds, because we understand that relationship within ourselves better, that makes things much more, quote unquote, changeable.
Yes.
Because a negotiation can actually take place.
As long as a lesson is learned, then yes, you are free to choose other themes.
Okay, great. And can you tell us how astrology and karma could be related?
No.
Okay.
Because they're not.
Can you use astrology in any way, though? You could probably use it as a tool to balance your karma. Yeah.
You can use it as a permission slip, like any permission slip, to again allow yourself to use karma to balance yourself. But to say to balance your karma is again misleading. You're not balancing your karma. Karma is the balancing act.
Okay. So, and do we have a choice about our next lifetime?
Yes.
Do we make that choice once we're in spirit, right?
Sometimes you can make it when you're still in physical reality, though you usually allow it to happen when you are in spirit, because there's more flexibility, more awareness, more understanding of what you have learned from the physical experience, and more opportunity to apply that to the next choice you may make.
Okay, and one person was saying that after their parents passed away, 2 cardinal birds came around and made their home directly across from the front door of my house, which was once their parents' house. And so this person feels a real connection with these birds and wants to know, is it possible for the soul of a person to come back as an animal?
No. This is not a reincarnational question. Remember again, bring everything back to the fact that everything exists at the same time. Therefore, that immediately eliminates the idea, mechanically speaking, of reincarnation. You can have it as an experience, as a presentation for certain reasons, for certain purposes, but that's not what's mechanically happening. However, this can involve another aspect of the oversoul, of which the person is also a part and the animal is also a part. So it may be a presentation of the same oversoul in another form, but that doesn't mean that the person came back as that animal. It's just another aspect of the same oversoul that the person themselves might also have been an extension of. We will go more deeply into this in a future transmission, after the next transmission, when we will discuss the idea of how the oversoul works.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question, but the idea of a bird or a flower or a smell being a recognition that a person is communicating with you, that's a completely different idea than the one we were just talking about.
Yes, that is simply a presentation of synchronicity using a vibration that may awaken you or alert you to the idea that another being in spirit may be attempting to communicate with you.
Right. So rather than the idea of, oh, that's my parents reincarnated, it's more like when you're seeing those birds, they're actually triggering you to know you're having a communication.
It can be that, but as I said, it doesn't necessarily just have to be that. It can actually be not only a message or a signal, but it can actually be an extension of the same oversoul that the person was an extension of too. I'm simply saying that's another option.
Okay. And there's a lot of feelings about staying in your excitement and how to get back into that when you're experiencing a lot of loss or grief or negative things keep happening, or even though you try to stay neutral, those challenges of how do you balance yourself so that you can feel the inspiration again that comes from your excitement?
As we have said, the first thing you must do is accept what's happening as there being a reason for it happening. So if you're experiencing those challenges, own them and ask yourself what your beliefs have to be in order to generate what you're experiencing, because it can't be otherwise. You can only experience what you believe you can experience. And if you believe you need to experience a challenge in that way, as a loss or something that seems challenging in a negative way, then you must believe that you're getting something out of doing it that way. You must be learning something. So by owning it and by asking yourself, what are you getting out of remaining in that belief system that's generating the experience in this particular way, then you can, with honesty, go deeper into your self-investigation. Remember, know thyself. And the deeper you go into why you have a belief that is making you experience these things, why you're holding on to that belief to keep experiencing things in that way, will illuminate what it is you think you're getting out of doing that, why you won't let it go, and it can give you much deeper insight into how to free yourself of it by realizing that by letting it go, you may actually have a much stronger connection and a much more positive experience of what it is you're exploring as a relationship to other people or other places or other things.
So when negative emotions come up when someone's following their excitement, such as feeling very intense anxiety and insecurity.
Remember, that's what's supposed to happen. The reflective mirror tool in your passion brings your attention to belief systems within you that are out of alignment with your passion. So the fact that those things come up should excite you. That's part of your excitement, because now you have something to work with, and now you can realize that you can let something go that doesn't serve you, and that adds to the energy and momentum of your passion. So it's all right to feel those things and own them, but recognize that's why they come up, because they're bringing your attention to something you didn't realize was there, and now that gives you the opportunity to work with it and let it go, and that is an exciting prospect.
Okay, and along those lines, let's say a person finds that certain things have fallen apart in their life and...
Stop.
Yes.
Look at the definition. What does fallen apart mean? Because if that person said, well, I didn't get what I expected, I didn't get what I was insisting on, I didn't get what I assumed would happen, they may translate that as their life is falling apart. But be careful how you frame these things, because the way you frame them can tell you everything about why you're experiencing it, because you think it should have gone another way. The idea is to allow yourself to recognize that whatever it is that is happening for a reason. And the reason is there's a belief there you need to look at that's creating that experience. So if you're going through something that feels like your life is falling apart, it's probably because you had a definition that is so rigidized that doesn't necessarily manifest in the way you insisted it must, that that's going to appear to you as if your life is falling apart, when in fact it may actually be falling open, so that you can see there may be other paths that are better for you than the one you were insisting on. So watch the definitions even when you frame a question that way. That could be in and of itself what's causing the situation to feel negative, just by framing it as if it's true that the life is falling apart. There is another way to look at it. Find it.
All right. And along those lines, the idea of feeling lost. That if a person feels that feeling of I feel lost, what is the appropriate or better way to interpret that state as opposed to I can't what's the best way to deal with that state?
Why do you think that's any different than what we just talked about?
Okay, so you're saying that you're interpreting what's happening in a negative way.
Yes.
So what that creates the feeling of being lost. And instead, if you feel that lost feeling, better to refocus on the idea of adapting and reinventing oneself.
Don't overcomplicate it. Remember the initial question. Anytime, first and foremost, remember, you cannot have a feeling without a belief first. You can't. It's not possible. So any feeling that you believe is negative, any feeling that's uncomfortable, the question is, what would I have to believe is true about myself in order to feel it the way I'm feeling it? You cannot have a feeling in a vacuum. Keep it simple. Remember the principles we have shared, how it works, and ask the appropriate question and be willing to explore and hear the answer. It's that simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
Okay, and this is the same question, but this individual is saying how thing after thing happens and they attempt to stay neutral, but basically it still comes down to, regardless how it looks, you cannot allow yourself the luxury of interpreting it in a negative way.
You can allow yourself that luxury if you wish to wallow in the negativity. That's fine. It's your choice. I'm not telling you can't do it. I'm telling you don't have to choose that. And I've also instructed you as to the way to not choose it. So yes, it's exactly the same thing that we just talked about.
Okay. So I think that answers the question of what this person was saying, which is, what am I doing wrong?
Nothing. You're not doing anything wrong, but you are giving in to belief systems that you don't prefer. That's your choice. If you're tired of doing that, use the techniques that we're talking about and make a different choice. One choice over another is not more important, doesn't carry more weight. The universe, all that is, isn't going to judge you for whatever you choose and isn't going to take sides and say, this is good and this is bad. You are either in alignment with all that is or you're out of alignment with all that is, but you're still within all that is no matter what you choose. So you always have the opportunity to come back into alignment with the frequency of unconditional love for yourself by making the choices that are more representative of that. And that doesn't just mean being nice to yourself. It means making the choices to choose definitions that work for you as opposed to the ones that don't. To be true to yourself. That's what we're saying here. We're not talking about just skipping down the boulevard singing happy songs. We're talking about when challenges come up, taking a moment, taking a pause, and actually realizing that you have a choice to make about how you will relate to the circumstance that's manifesting every single moment. Choose what you prefer. Choose the definitions that work. Stop choosing the definitions that don't. You are completely free to do that. Use your freedom. Use your free will.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So we have some ET questions here now.
All right.
Let's see. The souls of people on Earth never leave their real home. as we are like dreaming and playing an online game.
Yes, you're all in spirit.
So I would like to know if there's also a situation for Essassani beings as well. Are you also having dreams and your souls are in your real home, and then Bashar as an extraterrestrial being may also be an avatar or some experience that is in Bashar's dream?
Yes, everyone is in spirit. Everyone, everywhere. That's the natural state of all consciousness, non-physical, as you would understand that term. So every physical reality of any kind, any projection of any kind, in a sense, is the spirit having a dream to have a certain experience. Yes, we're all the same in that context.
Okay. And are you in contact with beings who identify themselves as Ra, or the raw material, a series of channeled books that claim to be an extraterrestrial social memory complex?
Yes, we understand. We know what that is.
So you're aware of their
yes
or whatever?
Yes.
Is extraterrestrial in nature?
Well, more extra-dimensional, but it can have an extraterrestrial expression.
Okay. And one person is saying that they have certain spiritual visions and dreams and all these things that are very exciting to experience.
Yes.
But then they find that they're quite different than what the physical reality is that they're living. And they just wanted to understand how to not feel that disappointment, in a sense, that the grand visions and the exciting things they're experiencing on.
All right, well, again, we have to some degree discussed the idea of dropping your insistences and assumptions about how you think things are supposed to happen, and allow yourself to relate to things in a more positive way through the definitional relationships that you create with whatever it is that's happening in the way that it's happening. It's happening that way for a reason, and the reason may simply be that this is the way it really needs to happen to serve you best. Or the reason may be that it brings your attention to something about the definitions you're using to create a less than pleasant experience for yourself, a disappointing experience for yourself. You are disappointing yourself from the present by buying into definitions that don't work for you. So reappoint yourself into the present by choosing definitions for what's happening that work for you, instead of assuming that the way it's happening can only have a negative definition that doesn't work. There is always another way to look at something that can actually serve you better.
Okay, and this question is, how do UFOs keep their occupants safe from the extreme G-forces in Earth's gravity field when the ships make dynamic maneuvers?
Because there is a field around the ship that allows the ship to move space-time with it. Therefore, there's no motion relative to space-time within the ship, because space-time is moving in a bubble around the ship. The ship is moving in a space-time bubble. So it's as if, relative to space-time, it's not moving. So there are no G-forces.
I don't know if this is the same thing, but in the movie Contact, when Jodie Foster was being dropped through a certain energy field.
Not the same thing.
No.
That was the utilization of a concept you call a wormhole.
I see. Okay, and the souls of people on... Wait, no, I got that one already. Hi, if I hear Bashar's voice before he speaks through the channeler, does that also mean I'm a channeler?
In a manner of speaking. Now, it doesn't mean you will channel me, but it does mean you may be sensitive to the vibrations of beings on different levels, different parallel realities, different dimensions, so on and so forth. And you may be tapping into and giving yourself a slightly ahead of time preview of what's coming in. So yes, you may have the sensitivity to pick up on information coming from other dimensional realms and allow yourself to concretize it or manifest it within your brain, maybe a split second before or simultaneously with it coming through another person who may be channeling. So yes, you may have that sensitivity. Now, you can perhaps use that to channel some other being or portions of your higher self, or you may use it in other ways. But as we have often said, by acting on your passion, you're pulling yourself into the channeling state anyway. So it's just a matter of what it is you wish to do with that channeling state while you're in it. But by being more used to the idea, by practicing the idea of being in a channeling state, by acting on your passion, following your excitement, being true to yourself, being in alignment with all that is, yes, your consciousness may expand to the point where you can pick up on communications coming from many different sources. So that's not that unusual.
And for people who are named after a particular month, such names like April, May, or June,
yes,
or people with associated names like Juno or Junior, do they have unique karmic ties to that month?
Again, they may have thematic ties, but it's not about karma.
Right. And what about people who have names like Dove or Robin or Tiger?
Everything is a permission slip. Everything may be representative of the theme that they chose to come in with, which may be why a name was crystallized along those lines. It doesn't have to be that way, but it can be that way. Sometimes a soul will deliberately choose a name that reminds the soul of the theme.
That makes sense. To what extent do the channel's beliefs and opinions influence the information that comes through him from Bashar?
At this point, 39 years in the practicing of the channeling of us, relatively little. There may be some things we take into account that have to do with the channel's recognition or cognition or understanding of things in your physical reality that can add a little bit of a difference or a color to it that would be a little bit different than the way we might express it in our own reality. But there is relatively little influence over the general concepts that we share with you.
Okay.
Because the channel doesn't care. It's not the channel's life that we're talking about.
What do you do when you're not connecting with Darryl? Do you live a regular life compared to the one that we're living here on Earth?
In some senses. As I have said, I am a pilot, I am an explorer, I am doing first contact scenarios with other civilizations other than yours. I am also a sculptor, and I do many other kinds of things. But our reality is very different than yours. It is like we are literally living, walking through a dreamscape all the time, connected to many different dimensions, including spirit, and having conversations with multiple entities simultaneously. That's a part of our quote-unquote normal, regular daily life.
And what is your definition of memory, and how can your race function without it? How can you tell us consistent biological stories from your life without memory?
Because we simply tap into what we need to know in the moment we need to know it. All I'm simply saying is our brains don't have to be wired to hold on to information. Our brains are wired in a way that the information that is required at that moment to serve a purpose simply is there because we're tapping into the source of all information, which is all that is here and now. So we don't need memory in the classical sense of a brain being wired to store information. We use the universe, we use all that is as our storage place, and therefore by being fully aligned with it, we simply download whatever information we need at any given moment.
Would that be related to the idea that you know how to tap into the electromagnetic field and receive energy, whereas on our planet, we're still working with memory and looking for ways to have unlimited energy?
Yes. If you would allow yourselves more openness to allow through, or if you wish, channel the idea of the general vibrational energy of unconditional support and love that is all that is, then you would function much in the same way that our civilization does with respect to memory as well, and with respect to your relationship to different forms and expressions of energy.
It's fascinating. Okay, this question is, person wants to ask about the Bible story of Adam and Eve and original sin.
Yes.
Who were they? Were there two trees in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge and the tree of good and bad? And who were those that said now they are like us when they committed this original sin? What was the original sin, and what was this fruit of knowledge of good and bad? Can you tell us more about it?
Yes. Again, the terminology, Adam, Eve, these are generalizations. Adama meaning simply man or human. Eva simply meaning female. The creation of Homo sapiens by the Anunnaki hundreds of thousands of years ago, by the utilization of a hominid that was naturally evolved on Earth, that was then infused with the genetics of the Anunnaki extraterrestrial race to create Homo sapiens. But the Homo sapiens were created at a certain genetic level, and they were, in general, forbidden to access certain kinds of information that would make them equal to the Anunnaki. So they were forbidden from accessing, or were not permitted to access, certain levels of knowledge that would make them equally powerful to the extraterrestrials. That is the us. And therefore the idea of the tree of knowledge is a metaphor for the idea of the branches of knowledge that the Anunnaki knew that Homo sapiens was prevented from learning. But when they did make a breakthrough, because one of the Anunnaki gave them the access to that knowledge, and they became more enlightened, more aware of what was going on in their relationship to the Anunnaki that had created them, then they started becoming more like the Anunnaki. They started to evolve along certain lines, which the Anunnaki at that time didn't appreciate or prefer. And this is also why those Anunnaki were ultimately recalled by their civilization, because they had broken their laws by creating this race for the purposes for which they had created them, to help them in their tasks on Earth. This is a complex and a very rich story that has a lot of metaphor in it, a lot of symbolism in it, but that is the general idea behind what you are asking.
And also the idea of female being created from Adam's rib. Is there anything you can share with us about?
Well, again, it's a genetic metaphor. Genetic material was utilized from the being that was neither male or female in the very beginning of the genetic hybridization, and thus it was split apart to allow one to beget the other, in the sense of an upgrade or an improvement in the female from the male.
And in Atlantean times, did they use telepathy mainly as their communication method, or was it still verbal?
It was mostly verbal. There were a few of the priests that could communicate telepathically, but that is a feature that is more ancient in terms of the Lemurian civilization. They were far more telepathic. That became lost over time. Most Atlanteans communicated verbally.
You've mentioned that Sasquatch is able to hop from one dimension to another.
Yes.
And are there other physical beings from mythology, such as the Thunderbird, the mermaid, or the pixie folk, that physically interact with our Earth as a species?
Yes. What you again call the elementals, many of which present themselves in certain forms at certain times, but they can change their form because they're not, shall we say, permanently crystallized in the way that humans are, or other beings on Earth that are mostly physical. They can shapeshift in a variety of ways because they are sort of made out of the clay of the consciousness of the collective whole. But they interact in their own way many times. Now, some of the beings you mentioned are different in nature than simply the elementals, and some of them are representative of genetic experiments that were done long ago. Some of them are representative of extra dimensionals that come from other places entirely. So you're kind of mixing up in that question some different beings and different species that don't have the same relation to Earth as the elementals might.
So the idea of like a dragon, were dragons real, or are they mythological?
Dragons are real in their own dimension, but they don't look like the way they look to you unless they, shall we say, project themselves into your reality. They represent the idea of ancient wisdom, a grander version of the ancient wisdom of the serpent, but they don't look like that in their own reality because they are ultra-dimensional. Therefore, they can only take on certain forms in your reality when people perceive them or have the ability to perceive them. that look a certain way that represents the level of power they're exhibiting and the relationship they have archetypally to the collective consciousness of your planet.
And what about mermaids?
Mermaids, in some sense, although there are differences in this story and different sources in this story of mermaids, some of which were created genetically in Atlantean times to see if humans could breathe underwater and were given certain fish-like attributes. But some mermaid perceptions also come from interactions with the beings from Sirius who are amphibious and do have certain qualities that you would relate to the idea of mermaids or mermen. So this is kind of mixed up in different sources of information that you have sort of rendered into a single mythology.
So when we find ourselves attracted to certain mythologies like mermaids or Sasquatch also, although it's not a mythology, I guess the idea is simply just to continue to explore that particular being because there's information in it for the person that's involved.
Yes, you may be using the connection as a permission slip based on the theme that you're choosing to explore that can help guide you, yes.
And what is your definition of nature? How is it that some people appear tied on a karmic level to an element of nature, like the sailor who loves the sea or the lumberjack who loves the forest?
Yes.
Basically, how do we...
Again, it's the theme. It's the theme. Theme, 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 theme. Not karma. Theme. Karma is what you use to allow yourself to align to your theme. But it's theme that you're talking about, not karma.
So basically, there's different levels to the theme, right? Because most of us are on a transformational theme journey right now. That's about becoming more empowered, more connected with the higher self.
Yes, and there can be themes within the theme. There can be mini themes, yes.
So, for example, if someone's attracted to mermaids or being in the ocean, then that could be a permission slip or a way to deepen the experience of the theme.
Yes.
So you can trust it, whatever you're attracted to.
As long as you are honest in your self-examination as to why you're attracted to it, because you can fool yourself if you're in denial of certain energies that may be more representative of anxiety than excitement. So you have to be honest in your self-investigation. But as long as you are, then yes, you can trust the synchronicity that brings you certain archetypal forms or representations that may help augment your theme.
And even the idea that an individual can, I guess, compartmentalize.
Yes.
Information, negative behavior, negative choices in such a way that they don't experience the repercussions of it, at least from the standpoint of those observing.
Yes, because again, that's not what karma is. They may go through a life without the equipment, so to speak, without the knowledge, so to speak, of how to self-correct. They may view through their attenuated belief systems the idea that what they're doing is positive when it's negative. These things will ultimately be understood when you are in spirit if they're not understood in the physical experience, because you will always go through what is typically called life review, where you will examine exactly what the consequences of your choices were, and you will experience the consequences of your choices as everyone experienced them in terms of your relationship with them and to them. So the idea is that you will get to experience every consequence that everyone felt of the choices you made, and that will bring you the understanding that is required for you to move on, and that doesn't necessarily have to happen in the physical life, but it will happen in the spirit level at some point. But again, it's not karma.
Right, right. And so the fact that someone will even question whether or not something they're doing is positive or negative and be willing to explore what could potentially be mental information.
That's karma. The willingness to explore, the willingness to observe, the willingness to investigate and take the actions necessary to determine whether or not you are in alignment with who you truly are and all that is. That's karma.
So something that's very telling is when a person is not self-reflective about the choices they're making. They don't question anything about it. They're just so sure they're right, or whatever they're doing, be it negative, does not seem to penetrate that there's anything wrong with what.
Yes, and that may be a theme that they're exploring, or again, they may simply have been bereft of the equipment or the knowledge in order to self-correct. But again, at some point, they will self-correct. But again, they simply may not have the ability to use karma in a positive way for themselves until they get into spirit. But that's all right. Again, you're all eternal, you're all infinite. You'll figure it out somewhere, somehow. Doesn't have to happen in the life. Although many people choose the life to figure these things out in physical terms, and it can be very beneficial and very accelerative for you to do so. But it's not something that's demanded by all that is, because all that is knows you will experience the realization somewhere, because you can't escape the vibration of all that is. There's nothing outside of it. So everything has to happen within it. And at some point, somewhere, somehow, somewhen, no matter when that is, where that is, or how that is, you will realize the connections and the consequences of all the choices you are making. And that will be a lesson that you can use to move on.
And very often, one of the themes that we experience here on Earth is sort of the coming of age story.
Yeah.
The idea of losing our naivete.
Well, shall we put it in the terms of gaining more insight instead of losing something?
Well, often it's experienced as a loss of the ideals of youth, the loss of what that life is not always quote unquote.
Then you have not come of age.
So that story that we tell ourselves on Earth about the disillusionment of youth, that eventually as you grow up, you will come to experience the harsh reality of physical reality that's quite different than as a child you thought it might be, or you idealistically believed.
You will come to realize the choices that are now available to you on a higher level of cognition. Yes. But to say that you have to face the harsh realities is already painting a negative picture.
So this is another one of our stories.
Yes.
Change.
Yes.
Quite ingrained in our culture, at least in many cultures, sort of as the hero's journey.
Yes, we understand that. But the hero's journey doesn't talk about harsh realities. It simply talks about facing challenges. And as we have often said, challenges don't have to be negative. So don't misinterpret the hero's journey. That's not what it means in its neutral form.
Okay. So I think that's pretty much, oh, here's the last one is, you mentioned that we all have to get our issues out on the table so we can decide what kind of a reality we want as we make our way towards open contact.
Yes.
Obviously, things like war and conflict appear to be one of those themes right now.
Yes.
Can you list some other collective themes, and can you address the getting it out on the table idea?
We will not go deeply into this at this time. This will be a subject for a different transmission. But the idea in general is to, again, take individual personal responsibility for what you can, take the actions that you can that are positive, that could be of assistance and of service to others, to help them see that there may be other ways to do things that are more constructive. Allow yourselves to let go of old and outdated definitions of things in your religious and sociological and political spectrums, among others, and allow yourself to move forward in truth that is true for you, without denial, without anxiety, but in joy and in love and in passion. And that is all we will say about that for now. And we will then welcome you to continue now in your following exercise in relaxation and in comfort. Now then, we move forward in the understanding of your meditation, and we ask you in a relaxed way, with whatever accompaniments you wish of light and sound, to focus on the understanding and the definition of karma as we have presented it to you, so that you do no longer experience it as you breathe into yourselves more and more deeply and relax and let go of old definitions, old ideas of punishment, because all that is does not punish. Old ideas of retribution, for there is no retribution in spirit. Old ideas of deserving pain, for there is no pain in the world to come. Allow that to become this world, and allow yourselves to simply recognize karma as a gift given to you, as a corrective measure, as a choice to create actions, which is its meaning originally and can become its meaning again. Action. Actions that realign you with your true self, your true vibration, and bring with it the ability and the gift to see and have the discernment to perceive when you are out of alignment with your true self more clearly, to recognize the difference between true passion and excitement and the difference between that and anxiety and fear, and to go forward, not backwards, and to use karma to your advantage as a course corrector, as a guide, to take the actions necessary, to take the actions that allow you to let go of the fear, to take the actions that bring you back into alignment with your true self, who you really know yourself to be at your core, your essential being. Breathe into that. Bring karma into the present. Not from the past, not about the future, but in the now. Karma only exists now. It's not about what happened in a past life, for even though that can be an experience, mechanically there is no such thing as the past. Everything exists here and now, and so does karma. So do the actions you can take every day, here and now, to make sure you are in alignment with who you truly prefer to be. To look around for the opportunities of actions that you can take to be of service, to be of assistance, to be a positive living example of what others can choose for themselves without you needing them to do so. Be of service in that way. Be the essence of the meaning of our word aveo, in service. For I am in service to you, and you can be in service to all by being yourself and living in a free way that you choose what you prefer and use karma to your advantage in the moment and not associated with the past or the future. It is a living mechanism in the present to bring yourself back into alignment. That is your karma. Use it wisely, use it well, use it consciously. This will connect into the next transmission where we describe the idea of how you use your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind as well, and how they work together in the present to create your reality experience, and how they work with your beliefs to do so. So we prepare you for that by allowing you to change your definition and your beliefs about what karma means and bring it fully into the present, so you can have a much clearer understanding of how your consciousness and your physical mind works, and so that you can more clearly and consciously navigate yourself in physical reality as an experience with clarity and love and freedom and joy. Karma is here and now. Allow yourselves to breathe it in and relax into the grace of seeing yourselves as you truly are, and letting go of those things that are not you, letting go of those fears, those definitions that do not serve you, looking for the ways in which everything can serve you. Everything, without exception, can serve you. If you remain in that state of grace, that state of positive karma, take the actions, have the definitions, make the choices that bring you into the present and allow you to know that that's where you truly live, in the here and the now. That's your karma. Breathe it in, take it in, and make it your own. We thank you for allowing us to share all of this with you this day. Our unconditional love to you all. Welcome home and pleasant dreams. Good day.